A dog can bring so much joy to a business owner, providing much needed stress relief. That is, unless the dog is not well trained. Not the case with my guest today. We have Charles Countryman. He's the CEO of the K9 Culture Dog Training, along with George, who's joining us in studio tonight. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So glad to have you. I got a feeling that this is going to be the best interview. No one's going to pay attention to you anymore.
Yeah. George is steal the show.
He'll steal the show. How long have you been a dog lover?
All my life. When I was a child, I grew up with dogs my entire life, and what got me fascinated about training dogs is we lived in the country in North Idaho, and I would take my horse for a ride, and my dog would go with me. And unfortunately, on the route, there was two dogs that would attack my dog whenever we walked by him. So I taught my dog to ride my horse with me. So that way, after we got past those two dogs, he'd jump off the horse, and then we could enjoy a ride.
There you go.
I would snap my fingers, he'd run up the side of my horse, sit on my saddle, and off we'd go.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, you started your business in 2020, but you've always worked with dogs before, so you kind of answered that question. You know, you got into your career, but starting a business in pandemic was probably not the easiest thing either, right?
No, it was a little risky. I guess a blessing in disguise is COVID dogs. A lot of people rescued dogs during COVID with all their time on their hands. So just timing worked out well, but it could have went the other way too.
It could have, well.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about George. George, you're the star of the show today. So what kind of breed is George?
George is half cattle dog and half American dingo.
Okay. Now, how long has George been with you?
Almost 10 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And he's looking at that treat.
Yeah,
like,
he knows I have a little something that he doesn't even have to work for.
Doesn't have to work for it. Come on television, George. This is how it works. You're on TV, they just give you stuff.
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What is your goal when you work with dogs?
To help, our main focus is to help everybody have a George, really. So our motto isn't just our motto, it really is what we're trying to accomplish. And that's just helping a human have a dog that literally is a joy to live with. Nope, stay. Because
he's going to lay down. That's okay, George.
When they're very polite, well-mannered, you can be very active with them in your life. You can take them places. Most people don't take their dogs anywhere because they can't.
Right.
It's not that they don't want to, it's they're embarrassed. Dogs would love to be very engaged and do a lot of things with their families, but they don't have the skill set. Dogs can't train themselves. If they did, there would be no dog trainers. So we really have to teach our dog how to live with us. Our dog doesn't innately understand how to live with us. So it's our responsibility as a dog owner to teach them how to live with us. And that's our goal.
And they're really smart animals.
Oh, incredibly. Yeah, good boy.
They learn quickly when they're taught properly.
Yep.
And so the old question I got to ask, can you teach an old dog new tricks?
Absolutely. That is a fallacy. And, I've Googled it and not figured out why that phrase exists. But my personal opinion is older dogs aren't as curious. They've seen it all. They're not as curious by every new thing because they've seen it 75 times. It's not new to them.
Gotcha.
But they love doing things. The oldest dog I've ever trained is 15 years old. There was a reason. They'd never lived in an apartment, moved to Dallas for a job relocation, and every time a neighbor knocked on the door, that dog would lose his mind. Right. So we had to teach him to just ignore that stuff. Okay. Otherwise, why would you train a 15-year-old dog?
Yeah.
But
is there any particular breed that's easier to train than others?
Typically, the working dog breeds are a little easier because they are working dogs. They're DNA driven to work. They love a job. They love to do. But really, all dogs love to. Training really is how we should interact with our dog. I use training as it's not you have to do this, you get to do this with me.
Right. That's awesome. Your website, by the way, k-9culture.com is where people can go and get more information. You are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Talk about how you've grown because, again, these scary times, but you've grown so much, it's almost like you got to keep expanding. Right?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right. Our facility is a little over 47,000 square feet, so a little over an acre inside. And it's all under heat and air because in Dallas in the summertime, it gets mighty warm.
It does.
And it really is important because, it's not fun to train in that heat, but dogs don't want to do it. They get tired, lethargic fast.
Sure.
So all of our dogs, whoops, you're okay, bub? All of our dogs, are hitting heat and air all the time. And we have 31 members on staff right now.
Awesome.
And continuing to grow.
Yeah, it's okay. You're liking that scratching, aren't
Yeah.
you? So what are some common mistakes that owners make? Because in a way, you got to train the owner, not just
That's
the
half
dog.
the job.
Yeah.
I really consider half the job, and I'm sure any good dog trainer considers half the job training the owner. Once we train the dog, we really have to transfer that knowledge, that leadership back over to the owner. And that's one of the reasons why we structure our training programs the way we do is we want to hand them back a dog with a great foundation, but now we need to solidify that foundation with the owner for the next 3 months after they finish training.
So what are some of the common mistakes that we make that we can do better?
Being impatient and unfair to our dog. So the best example of being unfair to our dog is I taught my dog to sit, and tomorrow I expect him to sit. It takes thousands of repetitions, but all repetitions are not created equal. I have to teach him to sit, but now I got to do it in the kitchen, now in the front yard, now the backyard. I have to change the context and the degree of distractions, or he's only associated the command, George, no, sit. He's only associated, good boy, the command with the action and not generalized it. We need him to generalize. That's what gives him the dependability.
Sure, that makes sense.
Otherwise, he would have never sat in here because he's never done it in this environment.
Right.
He's never been on TV before.
Never been on television. Well, George, you're the star. I can tell you that.
Right.
And so, got about 90 seconds. But
Sure.
is there any like practical things for someone who's watching tonight has a dog before they reach out to you? Something they can do tonight that would make them a better owner for their dogs.
Quality is better than quantity. So if you have children, this would relate to you. I tell my clients this a lot. We never tell my wife, hey, I'm going to go in the backyard and train the kids for a little bit. We train our children by how we interact and engage with them all the time. That's what gives them, to see how to act. We need to do the same with our dog. We incrementally, a minute here, a minute there, and then we be consistent. We don't keep changing the rules. Everybody in the house has to have the same rules, or that's incredibly unfair to your dog.
Totally makes sense. I mean, listen, so many things is logical, Charles, but
it
then
really is. It's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science.
It is not.
So, well, George, thanks for coming in. And so how many dogs in any given moment are you training? It's probably
typically we'll have 42 to 48 dogs in our facility.
And what's the average time that they're training?
3 weeks. That's
3
our
weeks.
average.
3
Yep.
weeks. All right. Again, that website is k-9culture.com. That's where you can go online. And who knows, maybe you'll get a chance to meet, not only meet Charles, but let's be honest, you want to meet George in person. So, George, you want to host your own TV show?
What do you say?
I think you'd be good at it. All right. Stick around. You're watching Create, Build, and Manage Daily.